Dear students, as I am discussing with you the poem which is titled here Personal Helicon for Michael Langley, written by Seamus Heaney. As in the very first lecture, I gave you about the introduction about the author that Seamus Heaney spent much of his childhood on his father's farm, where he was very much scared of the rats. Dear students, Seamus Heaney, or we can say Seamus Justin Heaney, is the Nobel laureate in the field of English literature. And this is the best poem from his collection of poems, Death of a Naturalist, or we can say the first major published volume of his literary work. Now, in today's lecture, I will discuss with you people this poem stanza by stanza. And now, here, let me take the first stanza of this poem. As a child, they could not keep me from wells and old pumps with buckets and windlasses. I loved the dark drop, trapped sky, the smells of waterweed, fungus, and rank moss. Dear students, in these lines, we can say that the poet talks about his childhood. So, in these lines, the poet tells us the poet talked about his childhood. So, here we understand that in the childhood, or we can say in the poet's childhood or in his childhood, the poet was highly attracted by wells and old pumps. So, in these lines, we understand that poet was immensely attracted, immensely fascinated by wells and old pumps with buckets and winches, or here we can see the windlasses. Dear students, he loved the dark depths. That means he loved the depth of these wells. He also loved the trapped sky. That means the unmovable, or we can say that can't move. So he loved the trapped sky, he loved the depth of the wells, and he also loves the smells of the weeds, fungus, and moss growing near these water bodies or near the wells. So, dear students, the first stanza here we got that in the very first stanza, the poet tells us about his childhood that he was highly attracted towards the wells and the old pumps, and he usually went to these wells with buckets and windlasses or winches. Dear students, he loved the dark depth of these valleys, he loved the trapped sky, he loved the smells of waterweed, fungus, and rank moss. Dear students, here are some words for your explanation like keep me. Keep me here means stop me from going towards. Okay, windlasses, dear students, windlass here we can say a roller shaped device or a machine that is used to drop this bucket inside the well, and that is also used to pull the bucket out from the well. Here, dark drop, dear students, means the depth of the wells. Trapped sky, we can say the sky that can't move. And moss here means, dear students, the green vegetation growing near water bodies. Mushrooms, you know that these are the plants without flowers, and or we can say the fungus. Mushrooms come into the category of fungus. Now, dear students, let us get some idea that why uh, this poet was highly attracted in his childhood towards these things. If we will consider ourselves as a child when we were the childs, or we can say in our childhood as you are in the growing stage of your, we can say the childhood. So we have also some attraction for some things. Here we can say that wells, old pumps, ponds, and streams. Every child, or we can say most of the children, they have attraction towards these wells because these things have their own charm. Okay, so the children get attracted towards these things, or we can say the playful children who are generally playful, who are active children. Okay, so they usually get attracted towards these things. That's why the poet also found the charm of these wells irresistible. So nobody could prevent the child, or we can say the poet, from going to them. So he liked these things for their depths and echoes. Dear students, this is the first stanza of the poem. Here, I am trying to explain you, and I hope that you got it here. Please go through this stanza.